Hello, my name is Alan Wright. I want to welcome you to my podcast. This is episode 6 of 6. That's the series for this podcast. This will be the last one, and there's a reason why. I'm making these podcasts to introduce to you a process that's going to change everything you know about your life on this planet. I call it cyborgenesis, not cyber, but cyborgenesis. There's a difference. Cybernetics is about computers. What I'm going to talk to you about, or what I have talked to you about in this series, is much bigger than that. In this final series, I've been talking about the fact that you're in danger, serious danger, immediate danger, existential danger. Hard to believe, I know. So I'm giving you everything I can do to help you understand that. And today, I'm going to talk to you about how all of the things I've talked about in the first 5 episodes come together in this final episode, episode 6. This is about cyborgenica. I call it cyborgenica because as a result of this cybergenesis that's happening, cybergenica is where you're all going to be living, where we will all be living if we're living at all. For example, if you think you're living in the United States and you have an address somewhere, I live in Tucson, Arizona. If you have an address, you can say I live in America. But what's happening right now and what's going to happen and become cybergenica isn't America the way you know it. You may still think you're living in America. You may buy into all the lies. I call them true lies because most people think these things are true and they're really lies. If someone's telling you a lie that somebody else told them and somebody else told them all the way back for a long time, it doesn't mean it's true. It's a true lie. It's just been carried forward on a wave after wave of distortion. You have been lied to. In the extreme, many, as I've said, many nice, good, reasonably smart people have followed and believed these true lies. The world you think you live in isn't the world you're really living in. Does that sound weird and strange? I suppose so to many people. And if you want to ignore it, that's your choice too. But it's a form of ignorance. Ignorance is the refusal to pay attention, and I am here to tell you some things that are really important for you to survive and thrive in this new world. Now, throughout the cosmos, the thing we call universe, it's not a universe. That was created, that notion, to go along with one true God, one true universe. And scientists talk about the universe, religious people talk about God. Mythology, other religions throughout history for the last 5,000 years have talked about gods. So it depends on where you're coming from and how you're thinking, how you see the world. One of the most famous philosophers from the United States was a guy named Charles Peirce. I think it's spelled like Pierce, but it's Peirce, pronounced Peirce. Around the turn of the 19th century, the 20th century, early 1900s, Charles Peirce talked about pragmatism, that Americans are very pragmatic. It means you're practical. Okay, almost all of the things you know that you learned in school, other than the little specialties we learned to create jobs, create materials, make a profit, make a living, other than those things, what you learned about history and geography and almost everything you learned about in schools is actually false. It's a true lie. Okay? The practical world is a world of survival. Evolution is a world of survival. We have evolved, and our senses have evolved to help us survive this world. Not thrive, but survive. A few people have learned how to thrive. And how did they do that? These are the very, very wealthy folks, the very to-do folks, the successful folks in our communities and across the international community. And they've learned about power and how power is the essence of it. Now there's good power and bad power. Another word for power is your influence. And you can influence people through love and charity and kindness, or you can influence people by a lot of other things that aren't so good. But power, the probability and possibility of things happening, that's what our world is about. All this thing we call universe, or world for that matter, this is just an infinite system. It's eternal. There were no creators. There won't be any ending. Just changes. Now, your birth and your inevitable death is two changes. They're just changes. There was stuff before that and stuff after that. You have a long lineage, part of your ancestry. You know that. You think of yourself as a beginning, and you are, to you, from your point of reference. Mr. Einstein didn't go far enough into relativity to explain this to lay people, what it means just to your world and your daily life. Your worldview is created by you, by your senses. From the time you're a baby, you start hearing noises, seeing bright lights, things like that, and your parents start teaching you how to interpret those voices and in terms of actions and reactions of others around you by your name, Mama, Dada. That all comes from putting noise together with some form of language, rudimentary, and understanding that to associate that with a person or a thing or a place. Your parents start it, then it goes through education and all levels that you go through. Well, the world isn't made up of language, and the world isn't made up of numbers. Okay? 0 and 1, for example, don't exist. They're just symbols. 0 is supposed to stand for nothing, 1 for everything. And then we do multiples of that through different parts of our mathematics system and all that. And it's useful, it's practical. It's not real, it's just symbols that we use. Words, languages, any language. Symbols, letters, made of letters, symbols. You can write them, you can speak them, you can do all kinds of things with them, but they're symbols. Powerful, very important, but nevertheless you interpret these signals and these symbols through your 5 senses essentially, your eyes and your ears and your nose and your mouth and your feeling and things like that. But the one nobody's been telling you about is your 6th sense. Now you got a bunch of philosophers and quantum physicists and others that are talking to you about consciousness. You've heard your doctor talk. Everybody knows about conscious. You can be unconscious. You can be conscious. You can be semi-conscious. You can get your teeth peeled and kind of not be conscious of the pain. I've had several major operations and I was unconscious, whatever that means. Well, unconscious is a matter of wakefulness. It's the system can go to sleep. The system goes to sleep. Okay? The messages stop transferring. Okay? But there's no such thing as consciousness. It's a word. It's made up of symbols, sounds. You can write it with letters. But nevertheless, consciousness is just the way we talk about when we're alert to all of our world and when we're not. But they're trying to turn it into a way of saying that everything is consciousness, and that's how they're justifying that you create your own worldview. Well, your worldview is what you think it is. It's how you can talk about it, how you feel about it. And yours is different than everybody else's. That's the essence of relativity. That's why the observer in modern science is a misnomer too. We use measurement, we use instruments and telescopes and microscopes and all kinds of things in the laboratory. Now I'm a professor of metaphysics. That's a whole other story, okay? But metaphysics looks at everything in various ways and builds a one picture of it, how it all works together. And you never can get there. You're always talking about possibility and probability because everything exists between 0 and 1, nothing and everything. It's all what a lot of scientists call hollow fractal. It means that where everything you know about, you can sense everything, is just a part, a fraction. It's a fraction of not even a hole. It's just this, all these things happen, and there's no end to it, and there's no beginning to it. It just, we have some say in what happens, okay? And it's based on our worldviews, which are obviously not always correct. So we make mistakes, and we correct those mistakes. Well, anyway, that's the world we live in a nutshell. And your worldview has been clouded by different degrees of a very poor public education that wasn't designed for truth. It was designed for practicality. The people that run the world, these are the people that own things, control things, corporate leaders, governments, everything you can think of. The people in charge make the rules, and they make them the way they want. Now they call all kinds of things: democracy, socialism, communism, dictatorships, all these things. And there are different shades of it all, but nevertheless you've got a few very powerful people giving names and telling how this is going to be and what's better and what's worse. All of that. Well, I live in the United States, and the United States is in serious trouble right now. And it generally is the most powerful nation in the world. China, people talk about; Russia, people talk about; and others. But since World War II, basically the United States has run things from the point of view of one key issue that other things are related to, and that's money. We talk about the reserve currency. Money is a very powerful form of power, and money doesn't exist. It's a symbol. We can make it paper, we can make it gold, we can make it silver, we can add metals in and take them out. We can use all kinds of things. Now we're talking about cyber currency. Cyber currency, or cryptocurrency, is money just created on a computer. Well, that's really not much new either, because since 1913, the Federal Reserve System, when it was created by 6 men that represented the banking industry of the world, they created and then got it passed through Congress, and our president signed it. And the Congress, which is in charge of money by the Constitution, they turned over that power to the Federal Reserve. Right now there are 12 Federal Reserve banks, and the key one is in New York City, and they decide how much money is printed out of just plain air. Money, they create it, they can print paper for it, they can put it on paper and call it debt, they can transfer the debt and call it a tax to the citizens, they can do whatever they want, they control the world. And other countries do it similarly but differently. So money's power. Money's a key power in a modern civilization. Now the reason I'm bringing this up and telling you all these things that may be boring to you is that at the core and the heart of this danger that you face, we face, is money, cryptocurrency. It's a much stronger control mechanism than what we have now. And what we have now is pretty powerful. It may hurt your feelings. You may not believe me when I tell you that anybody that works for a living isn't in control of their life. You're controlled by the source of that money you get to pay your bills and have the quality of life you want. Now you can say, well, I can change jobs, I can change career. Well, yeah, within a certain limit, but you're still going to, almost everybody works for somebody. The old saying, everybody's got a boss. One form or the other. The banks that loan you money, people that loan you money. Money you created, you earned it, but you got it from somebody. And the value of that money, whether it's inflationary, deflationary, whatever, that's all determined by people that know exactly what they're doing. No matter what anybody tells you about the free market, the stock market, bond market, or anything else, they know what they're doing, they're controlling it, and every year the dollars you have in your hand and your bank accounts diminishes in value in terms of real terms, no matter what they tell you. Okay? That's just the truth. Now, you aren't in control of that because you got to work. Now, if people own businesses, that's a form of work. It's just a higher form. It's a different form. More profits involved in a quicker amount of time, things like that. Different kind of work. Now, I've held every kind of job you can imagine. Governmental, corporate, stores, gas stations, casinos. I've worked all at mines, copper mines, above ground, underground. But what I'm trying to tell you right now is those people that have controlled the financial system of the world since World War II, in every way that military gets involved, loaning money, corporate control in many respects, media, all that, they have now turned over a lot of this. They don't like it, and they haven't lost complete control. But we have a new technocracy in town. Rather than just the old autocracy, it's changing like everything else. The technocrats, that's what I call them, the technocrats own most of the very current, very powerful technology which is slowly being diffused into becoming how the world operates. You can call that, if you want to, cybernetics, because it's controlled by computers. What they're calling artificial intelligence is a misnomer. It's a large language models that build around everything that's been written, everything's been said, that's been recorded, everything in recorded history that they've got at their control now. It's on computers, and now these computers are 1 trillion times and more faster than all humans can do at the same time. You can't do it. You can't keep up with that. So you say, well, what can we do? And you just yield and wait and see what comes. Very foolish strategy. I'm sorry, it just is. At least you can pay attention and start learning things about what's happening right now, and you can learn how you're going to fit in it. It's like driving down a road. You look at maps, you look at your screen in your car, or whatever. You know where you're going because you know where you are and how to get there. Well, right now you don't know how to access and manipulate and drive through what's coming. And it's already started. Okay? Now, I've studied all this stuff, and I've been doing it, working at this for 50 years. Okay? I've worked at all levels. And if you listen to my podcast, you can learn a little more about that, or if you come to my websites. All of this video right now, episode 6 of my 6 podcasts, is directed at getting you to go to my website where I can help you through this traffic of noise and lies, what I call true lies, if you want it. It's free. It's as private as you can be in the world today. I don't sell anything, share anything. If you give me an email address, I communicate with you. I let you use the chats and the blog space and all that. You can contribute to it. You can see it without that, but you can't contribute unless I want to know you're a person. Okay? That's the only reason. I don't send emails to anybody that doesn't request me to. All right? Now, if you want to do that, I will be happy to work with you. I do small seminars of people really interested, asking questions, getting involved. I do that with Zoom in small groups or individually if you want it. Now, if you can't use Zoom, you can learn, or if you don't learn, you don't want it bad enough, and I don't think I can help you anyway. It's a very easy, very inexpensive way to get an education from me. I will help you in ways you can't comprehend based on these 6 videos alone. But what I'm going to try to tell you is I'm a strategic planner. Learned it in the military and corporate world and public service, all different things. I've learned how to be a strategic planner. Now, I can help you. Work your way through this, find a roadway through what's coming up to not only help you survive, but thrive. You don't want to be what we're going to call zombie. You want to find some way to be a cyborg in the sense that you're learning to cope and deal with this cybergenesis that's about to take place. Because folks, you now live in cybergenica. You just don't know it yet. But if you're going to, you don't want to be like those Neanderthals. They didn't think they were going to go extinct, but as human sapiens, Homo sapiens took over the world, they became extinct. Well, Homo sapiens right now that are going to become zombies, cut off from the main source of everything, they're going to fade away. Because they won't have any money, they won't be able to buy food, they won't be able to afford a house, they won't be able to afford a car, transportation, a ton of things. Now I can explain all that to you in detail by answering your questions if you come to my website, rightorwrong.com, W-R-I-G-H-T, or wrong, W-R-O-N-G.com, rightorwrong.com. Now I have 16 websites to take you through what I call the Pathfinder Project. It's to help you find a path through all this that's happening. I understand it, I know it, and I'll help you. Okay, we can learn some things together. Some of the details I haven't paid a lot of attention to yet. I know what's happening though, and the international relations will not stay the same. There will be a lot of warfare, a lot of violence. They're being led right now by a madman running the United States. He's a con artist, and a very good one, very practiced one. He's a psychopathic narcissist who is being used by the technocrats to aid in all this change that's happening and move towards this new, what I call cybergenica. Now he won't last, okay? They're using him like a chump, and he doesn't know it. That's how he thinks he's going to be a king and he's going to control the world. If not buy it, take it, using the military. That's why tomorrow, this is a Friday, tomorrow is a Saturday, and it's his birthday, and he's got the military all out to act like he's, you know, living in Russia or North Korea or China or somewhere where he's showing off his military because it's his. Now, this man's crazy, and he got elected by telling true lies. He told you people lies, you believed him, okay? You were trained to believe. You were trained to trust your government. You were trained to trust democracy. You've been programmed. You just have to trust me on that and think about it, and it's certainly provable. The media does a wonderful job on all of us. The public schools work with textbooks that I've written, helped write textbooks. Textbooks are written around basically 3 states for a long, long time, and that's Texas, New York, and California. 3 out of every 10 students in public schools go to school in those 3 states. Now we have 50 states, okay? 300 and something, it changes all the time, million people. Well, the people that know about Texas, and they write the textbooks for them, and then everybody else gets a few choices around that. I studied this, I know it, I understand it. I've served a 19-state coalition of school accreditators at all levels, and many, many more things I could tell you about. What I want you to take away from this short video is that cybergenica is about learning what this means to become part of the cyborg world. The cyborgenesis is taking place to replace humanity. It's a transhuman development. Just like Neanderthals turned into Homo sapiens are going to turn now into these transhumans, something else, and the name will probably change through time. But it'll be different. And most people are going to be left behind. The vast majority. Now there'll be degrees, it'll happen at different rates of speed, but it's already started. If you haven't been following what our leader has been making happen, is he's getting rid of people that he doesn't want. And he's trying all kinds of fancy maneuvering to call it criminals. He's trying to keep out of the country and all that. But he's attacking immigrants. We're a country of immigrants. And everybody manipulates the law to get in this country. They came in boats, they came all over the place, in planes, they walked across lines forever. for way over 200 years. Now this man is a racist. This man is trying to regain control over the governors and the states. He's destroying democracy to create this technocracy. Now he's going to make a lot of progress, but he's going to lose in the end to the technocrats. They're more powerful than him. They know how to handle people like him. But in the meantime, this man's going to do a lot of damage. Violence, chaos. Change often is that way. This is going to be accelerated rate. And it's going to be led by what people are calling AI, whether it's large language models, whether it's general AI, or if it's the singularity, where it literally gets more powerful and doesn't need humans at all. Well, that may or may not happen. Likely, it could happen. But even if it doesn't, for the near future, there's going to be a very few people that do control it because it's so expensive. Billions and billions of dollars. Trillions to run some of these fancy quantum computers. They're dangerous. They're exploring territories no man, no woman knows much about. Now, I've studied quantum physics. I know a lot about it, all the way through from the Planck level all the way up through the atomic level and beyond. They're not going to print what I have to say in journals because journals are owned by somebody. Journals have committees of people that are invested in universities, tenure, funding, and all these many components of running the world. Okay? Running people, organizing a system to hold everything in place. Okay? So if you want to see how things are going, watch what Trump's trying to do at Harvard, or Columbia, and other places you haven't even heard about. Okay? Notice what he's doing to funding all around the world and other countries. But if you don't want to pay attention, at least pay attention to this and go to my website, rightorwrong.com, and I will be reposting these podcasts there. They're all coming out on YouTube. You can go to my YouTube channel. It's Right or Wrong 1783. And you can see these 6 podcasts. Or you can come to my website and you can find all this stuff there and get involved. Ask questions. Quit whenever you want. I don't like quitters, but I understand it. Sometimes your body gives out. I've been having a lot of troubles with that myself. All right, folks. I don't know much more that I can say to you other than you're living in cybergenica now. You may think you live in America or China or Japan or anywhere in Europe, but you're in cybergenica in its early stages. You just don't know it yet. The people that are going to control it are going to control it through this new medium. They won't have a choice. They'll fight it a little bit. Who's going to control it? Who's going to, the wars of cybernetics right now, the cyber wars, all this stuff is coming to play, and it's reaching an apex to where you can't avoid it anymore. When they come out with the cryptocurrency that they're pegging already to things like these coins, and Trump has already made billions off this just as president. Used to be against the law. It really still is against the Constitution for him to do these things, but he's making billions from creating these coins, Trump coins. He's totally. I want to say he's a criminal because of his in-laws and his sons and his business affairs, making billions off of the influence he's yielding through being president. Now, folks, that's not right. It's not right. That's more important to this man than what happens to you and your family in this life. Now, if you can't see that, I'm sorry. You're wrong. Okay? Now, if you want to work and try to create a better way through this, I'll help you. I'll help you survive and thrive, avoid being one of the zombies, and slowly work your way into being a useful person with some identity with some sense of your integrity, sovereign integrity as a person. And I'm not talking religiously here, T. I'm talking about in terms of philosophy, in terms of science, in terms of having some say in your life and the people around you, helping, being a nice person, okay, being a good person. Now everybody has different ideas about that, and first you have to look out for yourself or you can't help anybody else. Learn. Cradle to grave learning, I call it. I've been a teacher, preacher, creature my whole life. When I was still in high school, I was behind a podium preaching and giving speeches in my school, and I've been doing it ever since. Sometimes from airplanes and from helicopters and from on the ground and throwing smoke and all kinds of things. I've done it. Okay? Been a Boy Scout leader, a junior troop leader, all these things. That's my nature. And now I'm trying to come to you in a way to help you through this. And I don't care how smart you think you are, what your degree status, you don't really understand this situation very well. There's tons of people telling you wrong things, true lies. They think they know what they're talking about, they're guessing, or they're playing a game of influence and whatever. They want different things. But I'm trying to tell you that everything I'm telling you here is provable. I have proven it. Okay? I know what I'm talking about. I can tell you exactly how possibility and probability comes about, how it leads to everything going on in the world, and how it's going to continue changing all the time. We live in time, not a place, not a universe. We live in time. Okay? And that's a very difficult concept. How we measure time is irrelevant, other than for survival purposes, getting through life purposes. That's good, but it's not really time. Time is something different altogether. But time is what we live in, not a place, and it's not because of a person creating it or any other thing creating it. It always is. Everything that you want to call everything, it's not an accurate term, but it's a matter of, it's a process. Even the pronoun it isn't correct for it. It goes back to the mythical misunderstanding of when God said there's no name for God. Just different names people give it. But the idea is that creation is a constant project. There's construction, there's destruction. There's light energy and dark energy. Think of it as pushing and pulling. Attraction, pushing away. Okay? It's provable. It follows all through every bit of the science we know, thermodynamics, electromagnetism, and everything else that we know. I can prove it to you if you're not too disinterested or busy or whatever it is that keeps people from learning. If you're not doing cradle to grave learning, the grave may come sooner than you'd like in a new world. Certainly, it won't be a very pleasant life if you don't keep up with the learning now. I'll help you. I want to help you. I don't have a lot of time. My last thing I'm going to tell you is I've had a lot of surgeries, but now coming out of my heart, my aorta, yours is about the size of my thumb. Okay, mine has a big ball on it. It's more the size of my wrist. For about that high up on it, it's a big balloon. And it's burst once, and it's not all the way through. It saved my life. I went through it, went on hospice, I'm off. But it's going to happen again. I've had 6 surgeons tell me they can't do anything about it. It's too complex where it is, and because of my other surgeries. But they tell me that just go live your life the best you can. It's going to end soon. Don't know exactly when. They're shocked I've lived this long. So as long as I'm alive, I'll help you. And I'm creating people in my system that can help you when I'm gone. Okay? You can be a part of that if you like. Help others. So I've got all of that laid out. It's easy to follow. I'll help you in any way I can if you come and join me at rightorwrong.com. So that's about all I can say about that for now. I want to reiterate, it's free. It's online. It's private. You can join the blogs if you want to. That's private basically to most people. but I don't sell anything. I don't want your information. I do need an email. Make one up if you have to, but I need to know who I'm talking to, or I need to know, have someone to talk to. So help me with that if you will. I'm an honest person. My life's been threatened many times. Some of the work I've done. I carry weapons. I take care of myself. But we live in a very strange, difficult world. And it's going to get much more so. Let me help you understand it better. I really want to, and I can't. So, with that, I want to say adios, vaya con Dios, if that's what your choices are. And I wish you good fortune through all this, whatever it takes, and however you choose to go. You make every decision in my system if you choose to come. You can quit anytime. I won't bother you. I don't need to. I have more to do than I can do. Alright, I could probably talk all night. I've been known to talk too much. But I wanted to end this way to make it very personal to you. And I want to make it clear that I want to help you. Okay? And it doesn't matter your level of education. Okay? We can work with translation. We can work with all kinds of things. I mean, anybody around the world that wants help, I'll help them. I don't care what you look like, what your sex or your skin color or whatever. Even I don't care about your philosophy or your what country you live in. It doesn't matter to me. I want to work with human beings that want to survive and thrive in a world where everybody does better than they're doing today, in a fair, honest, free way, where we can protect the sovereignty of what we used to call humans. But I'm moving towards transhumanism myself. Now, posthumanism is your option. That's only two. You think you've got more, but you don't. Dying, of course. But you can either become post-mortem through the zombie path, or you can move into this cybergenic pathway and become more of a cyborg, for lack of a better term. It's a transhuman term. Transhumanism, posthumanism. Cyborg, zombie. Better get with it, folks, because it's going to happen. It'll happen to you if you don't make it happen for you. Now, that's a pretty clear option. And if you don't believe me, do some research. I promise me you'll get here at some point if you really do a good research into the matter. All right. Signing off.